Close your eyes and imagine. Siberia. Nearly 30,000 years ago. A vast land of endless white, where the sky is swallowed by thick clouds. The earth is cracked by ice. And the cold is so sharp it can freeze your breath the moment it leaves your chest. This is the Ice Age, where survival itself is a relentless struggle. Here roamed one of the most formidable creatures of the prehistoric world, the woolly mammoth. With its towering frame, shaggy coat, and colossal curved tusks, it reigned over this frozen land, feared by all predators, all but one. The only species bold enough to challenge it was Homo sapiens, modern humans. On this night, under the pale light of a moon veiled by drifting snow, a small band of hunters, just 4 people, follow the deep. Fresh tracks pressed into the frozen ground. Their weapons are crude spears tipped with stone. Their hearts burning with a singular resolve. If they cannot bring down this giant, their entire tribe will face hunger, and perhaps extinction. The story you are about to witness is not just a hunt, but a reminder of the primal survival instinct that allowed our species to endure, to rise, and eventually to dominate the earth itself. To understand the weight of this moment, we need to step back into history. Around 28,000 BC, the earth was in the grip of the last glacial maximum, the height of the last ice age. Vast sheets of ice covered most of the northern hemisphere, from northern Europe and Siberia to modern-day Canada. Average global temperatures were 8 to 10 degrees Celsius colder than today. And many regions remained locked under glaciers hundreds of meters thick. Mammoth-dominant megafauna included the woolly mammoth, woolly rhinoceros, saber-toothed cats, bison, and reindeer. Bust in silhouette meanwhile, Homo sapiens, who had left Africa roughly 60,000 years earlier, were steadily spreading across Eurasia. In Siberia, every day was a battle, finding food, resisting the cold, avoiding predators. A single mammoth could sustain a tribe for weeks, providing meat, hides for clothing and shelter, and bones for tools. That is why a mammoth hunt was more than survival, it was life itself. We follow a small hunting party of 4 Homo sapiens. Both. The leader, around 35, hardened by years of survival, his eyes sharp and calculating, bearing the weight of experience and loss. Z. A young woman of 28, agile, resourceful, and the keeper of fire, both literally and symbolically, for the tribe. Tommy. A strong young man of 22, brave, passionate, sometimes reckless. Max. A 15-year-old boy, son of both. This is his first mammoth hunt, a dangerous rite of passage into adulthood. Wrapped in furs, gripping stone-tipped spears, these 4 set out into the frozen wilderness to face the giant of ice. The wind howls through icy valleys, whipping snow into swirling white storms. The hunters hunch low against the gale, following the mammoth's trail, vast, deep footprints pressed into the snow. Both kneels beside one track, pressing his rough, scarred hand into its depth. He raises it to his lips, tasting the faint warmth still lingering. Then he looks to Max and nods. The boy's eyes widen, fear and excitement battling inside him. This is the moment he has waited for all winter. Crossing a frozen river, a sudden crack echoes through the silence. The ice splinters beneath their feet. Tommy lunges forward, yanking Max back just as a sheet of ice collapses into the rushing black water below. Freezing spray erupts, stinging their faces. Death is everywhere in this land, not only in the fangs of predators, but beneath their very feet. Z stoops, picks up a shard of ice, and hands it to Max. Her eyes are stern but steady. Remember, she gestures with her hands. Our enemy is not only the mammoth, it is the earth itself. They halt when they come upon a massive tree, its trunk ripped from the frozen ground. The bark bears deep gouges, evidence of the unimaginable strength of the creature they pursue. Through the veil of snow, they glimpse it at last, a towering shadow, its coat matted with frost, tusks gleaming like ivory scythes under the moon. Both signals with his hand. Hide. They crouch behind a drift of snow. His silent gestures are clear, not when it's with the herd. We wait until one is alone. Max holds his breath, staring at the colossal beast. His heart races in his chest. This is not just prey, it is survival itself. a line drawn between hunger and hope. As they press on, darkness deepens, but they are not alone. From the forest's edge, pairs of golden eyes flicker. A pack of wolves has found them. The hunters instantly form a circle, torches flaring in the wind. Flames crackle, shadows dance across the snow. Tommy shouts, hurling a torch toward the predators. The wolves snarl, hesitant, then melt back into the black trees. Max trembles, but his eyes burn brighter than before. He begins to understand. This hunt is not just about killing a mammoth. It is about proving that humans can defy every predator, every threat. In this merciless land, the herd rests in the valley, massive shapes looming in the snowstorm. Their breath steams in clouds, tusks glittering with ice. Among them, one mammoth strays, its gait uneven, one leg dragging slightly, an old wound. Perhaps this is the one. Both raises his hand. The hunters crouch low, their bodies tense like drawn bows. Every movement is deliberate, silent. The snow crunches faintly beneath their furs. Max grips his spear so tightly his knuckles whiten. He feels the weight of generations in his hands, the knowledge that if he falters, the tribe may starve. They creep closer. The air is thick with tension, every gust of wind threatening to reveal them. Suddenly, the mammoth halts. Its enormous head swings, ears flaring. A deep rumble escapes its chest, a warning. The hunters freeze, hearts pounding. Then both signals. Tommy bursts from cover, hurling his torch. The flames arc through the night, startling the beast. With a thunderous trumpet, the mammoth rears back. The hunters charge, spears thrust forward, piercing the shaggy coat, striking deep into flesh. Blood sprays, steaming against the snow. The mammoth bellows in rage, its tusks carving the air. Max lunges, his spear trembling in his grip. He drives it into the creature's side. For a heartbeat, pride floods his chest, until the mammoth swings its massive head, tusk slicing past his shoulder. He stumbles back, nearly crushed beneath the beast's footfall. The valley erupts in chaos. The herd, startled, trumpets in alarm, shaking the night with their cries. Snow explodes as colossal bodies shift and stampede. The targeted mammoth lashes out, swinging its tusks like scythes. Tommy is hurled to the ground, the air punched from his lungs. Z darts forward, waving fire to draw the beast's attention away. Both roars, his voice carrying over the storm. Hold the line. His spear buries deep into the mammoth's flank. The beast screams, blood pouring onto the snow, staining it crimson. Max scrambles to his feet, eyes locked on his father. He sees not just a leader, but a man who has lived this struggle countless times. And now, it is his turn to rise. The mammoth charges, each step shaking the ground. Max stands frozen, spear raised but trembling. The beast is a wall of fur and fury, unstoppable. At the last instant, Tommy shoves Max aside. The tusk grazes him instead, tearing a deep gash across his side. He screams but remains standing, blood soaking his furs. Max's breath catches. Rage and fear collide within him. He grips his spear tighter, his vision narrowing. This is no longer just a hunt. It is survival. For Tommy, for his father, for the tribe. He sprints forward, planting his feet in the snow. With a desperate cry, he thrusts the spear upward, aiming for the soft spot beneath the mammoth's throat. The tip drives deep. The beast bellows, staggering. For a moment, the world holds its breath. The mammoth thrashes wildly. Its tusks smash into the ground, tearing up chunks of ice and stone. One swing knocks Z's torch from her hand, extinguishing the only light. Darkness engulfs them. Both grabs a second spear, his muscles straining as he launches it into the beast's side. Another strike, deeper this time. The mammoth roars, stumbling, but it does not fall. Instead, it charges directly at Max. The boy stands his ground, eyes blazing. The shadow of death towers above him. At the last second, both tackles him aside, the mammoth's tusk missing by inches. Both crashes into the snow. Gasping, the beast looms over them. One final strike ready to end it all. In that instant, Tommy, bleeding and staggering, seizes a burning branch from the snow. With a cry of pure defiance, he thrusts it into the mammoth's face. Flames lick its fur, Smoke filling the air. The beast rears back, trumpeting in pain. Its balance falters. Seizing the moment, Max and both drive their spears together into its chest. Wood cracks. Stone shatters. But the force pierces through. The mammoth collapses, the ground trembling beneath its weight. Snow bursts into the air, silence falling in its wake. For a moment, all is still. The hunters stand frozen, hearts hammering, breath heaving in the frigid night. Then the realization dawns: they have won. The snow around them is painted red. The mammoth lies motionless, steam rising from its wounds. Z kneels beside Tommy, binding his wound with strips of fur. Both places a hand on his son's shoulder. His eyes, usually so hard, soften with pride. You stood. His gesture says without words. You did not break. Max, still trembling, gazes at the fallen giant. For the first time, he feels the weight of what it means to be human, to fight, to endure, to take life in order to give life. The torches flicker back to life, casting a warm glow over the snow. The hunters gather around the fallen beast, their breaths misting in the frozen air. This victory is not just theirs, it is the tribe's survival. Their future. The sky slowly shifts to pale gray blue as the first light of dawn pierces through the heavy clouds. The valley, where moments ago life and death clashed, now lies in silence. On the ground, the colossal mammoth lies still, its shaggy fur dusted with snow, the last warmth of its body rising in faint steam. Around it, 4 small figures stand quietly. There is no cheering, no triumphant shouting, only a solemn silence. For they know, to gain life, they had to take life. Both places a hand upon the creature's chest, his eyes filled not with pride but with reverence. He understands. This animal has given its body so that his people may continue to survive. As the sun rises higher, the hunters begin their grim work. Stone knives glint in the light as they slice through thick hide. The snow runs red with blood. Z carefully gathers chunks of precious fat, destined to fuel lamps and fires. Tommy, wounded and bleeding, still forces himself to carve meat, his sweat mixing with the blood on his face. Beside his father, Max trembles as he learns for the first time the work of a true hunter. He touches hide, bone, flesh, learning how to divide every part so the tribe will have food, warmth, and tools for weeks. To him, this is not just butchery. It is a rite of passage, the moment that marks his crossing from childhood into the harsh world of survival. As the sun climbs, the hunters wrap meat, fat, and bones in bundles of hide, binding them with sinew. They hoist the heavy loads onto their shoulders, preparing for the long trek home. Their steps are slow, heavy, but their hearts are lighter than they have been in days. Each footprint pressed deep into the snow is proof that they have returned from the edge of death. Z walks behind, her gaze lingering on Max's back. Only days ago, he was a boy stumbling in the snow. Now his stride is firm, his eyes hardened. Through the howling wind, they know. The tribe is waiting. Children, elders, all depending on their return. When the glow of fire from the encampment comes into view, a cheer rises. Children race forward, eyes wide as they see the massive bundles of meat. Elders stagger out, tears welling as they count the hunters, all alive. The entire tribe gathers around the great fire. Drums of hide thump rhythmically, merging with the wind's whistle. Meat sizzles over flames, its aroma spreading through the camp. Tommy, still bleeding, smiles as children bite into the first roasted pieces. Z ladles fat into stone bowls, handing it to each family. Both stands apart, his face lit by firelight. Pride glimmers in his weary eyes. He turns to Max, nodding once. You did it. Max says nothing. He only smiles faintly. Inside him, a new flame has been lit. Night falls. Around the fire, the tribe gathers close. Outside, the wind howls. But here there is warmth, light, and story. The elders retell the hunt, their voices rising and falling with drama. Children sit wide-eyed, their imaginations ablaze. On that night, an elder rasps, "We challenged a giant, and we triumphed, not through strength alone, but through unity." In that moment, the young understand. Humanity is not the fastest, not the strongest, not the fiercest, but humanity cooperates. Humanity sacrifices. Humanity remembers, passing lessons from one generation to the next. And that is what makes humanity strong. The tribe gathers around the fire, eating, laughing, living. Beyond them stretches the endless frozen Siberian night, stars scattered like shards of ice. From above, the human fire is only a tiny spark against the vast white expanse. Yet it is a spark that will never die. With every hunt, with every triumph over nature's cruelty, humanity takes one step further along the path of evolution. From each trial, humans learn to endure. From each hunt, humans learn to unite. And because of that, we rose from the frozen darkness to become masters of the earth. The story of the Mammoth Hunt in Siberia 28,000 years ago is more than a tale of survival. It is proof of humanity's enduring strength, a strength not in muscle, but in will, cooperation, and knowledge. Every spear thrust, every step in the snow, every narrow escape from death, all of it laid the foundation for human evolution. Through struggle, we not only survived, but thrived. Final message. Survival does not belong to the strongest, but to those who adapt, who unite, and who face fear head-on. If this story made you feel closer to prehistoric life, leave a comment. Do you think you could have survived the Ice Age? Subscribe now so you don't miss the next journey, where we'll uncover more defining moments of human history. Share this video with a friend, and let them feel the power of our ancestors' survival. And if you want to continue the adventure, click the video right here, where we explore the last days of the Neanderthals.